Good strategy, bad strategy, the difference and why it matters. Chapter 1. Good strategy is unexpected. In this chapter, Richard Rumelt explores how effective strategy often defies expectations, catching competitors off guard and creating asymmetrical advantages. The core idea is that good strategy breaks away from the status quo and introduces elements of surprise that competitors are not prepared for. Rumelt emphasizes the importance of identifying leverage points, small actions that can lead to significant results, and crafting strategies that exploit these points. By doing so, organizations can achieve disproportionate effects relative to their effort and resources. The chapter also delves into the concept of chain link systems, where the weakest link can significantly impact overall performance, and how good strategy can address these vulnerabilities in a way that competitors overlook. Rumelt provides several historical and business examples to illustrate how unexpected strategies have led to remarkable success. He argues that leaders must possess the insight to recognize opportunities that others miss and the courage to pursue unconventional paths. This unpredictability not only confounds competitors, but also inspires and energizes the organization internally, creating momentum and a sense of purpose. Element of surprise. Effective strategies often introduce unexpected moves that competitors are unprepared for. Leverage points. Identifying small actions that can lead to significant results is crucial for crafting impactful strategies. Chain link systems. Addressing the weakest link in a system can substantially improve overall performance. Historical examples. The chapter provides various examples to showcase how unexpected strategies have led to success. Unconventional paths. Leaders should have the insight and courage to pursue paths that others might overlook. Chapter 2. Discovering Power. In Discovering Power, Richard Rumelt delves into the essence of what makes a strategy powerful and effective. He posits that true power in strategy comes from insight and the ability to see opportunities where others see obstacles. Rumelt emphasizes the importance of focusing on the sources of power that are often hidden in plain sight, such as leveraging asymmetries, exploiting relative advantages, and understanding the dynamics of change. He provides compelling examples from various industries and historical contexts to illustrate how leaders have unlocked power by perceiving and harnessing these often overlooked factors. The chapter underscores that discovering power is not just about having resources, but about the intelligent and innovative use of those resources. It is about aligning strengths with opportunities in a way that competitors cannot easily replicate. Rumelt's exploration encourages readers to think deeply about their own strategic environments and to seek out the latent sources of power that can propel them ahead of the competition. Insight and opportunities. Rumelt emphasizes the importance of seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. Hidden sources of power. Focuses on leveraging asymmetries, exploiting relative advantages, and understanding change dynamics. Compelling examples. Provides examples from various industries to illustrate the practical application of discovering power. Resource utilization. Highlights that discovering power is about the intelligent and innovative use of resources, not just possession. Strategic alignment. Stresses the importance of aligning strengths with opportunities in ways that competitors cannot easily replicate. Chapter 3. Bad strategy. In this chapter, Richard Rumelt delves into the characteristics and pitfalls of bad strategy. He emphasizes that bad strategy is often masked by a plethora of goals and objectives, which lack coherence and focus. Rumelt argues that bad strategy is not just the absence of good strategy, but a result of misunderstanding the essence of strategic thinking. He identifies several key symptoms of bad strategy, including fluff, failure to face the problem, mistaking goals for strategy, and bad strategic objectives. Fluff refers to superficial, jargon-filled statements that sound impressive but lack substance. A failure to face the problem occurs when organizations do not acknowledge the real challenges they face, thereby failing to address them effectively. Mistaking goals for strategy involves setting ambitious targets without a clear plan to achieve them. Bad strategic objectives are those that are impractical or based on flawed reasoning. Rumelt illustrates these points with real-world examples, demonstrating how organizations can fall into the trap of bad strategy and the consequences that ensue. Ultimately, the chapter serves as a cautionary tale, urging leaders to adopt a more disciplined and thoughtful approach to strategy formulation. Fluff. Superficial, jargon-filled statements that sound impressive but lack substance. Failure to face the problem. Occurs when organizations do not acknowledge the real challenges they face, thereby failing to address them effectively. Mistaking goals for strategy. Involves setting ambitious targets without a clear plan to achieve them. Bad strategic objectives. Objectives that are impractical or based on flawed reasoning. Real-world examples. Demonstrations of how organizations can fall into the trap of bad strategy and the consequences that ensue. Chapter 4. The Kernel of Good Strategy. In The Kernel of Good Strategy, Richard Rumelt delves into the core elements that make up an effective strategy. He emphasizes that good strategy is not just about setting ambitious goals, but about diagnosing the critical challenges and obstacles that need to be overcome. According to Rumelt, a sound strategy comprises 3 core components: a diagnosis, a guiding policy, and coherent actions. The diagnosis is essentially an explanation of the nature of the challenge. It allows for a clear understanding of the most critical issues at hand. The guiding policy is a broad approach chosen to overcome the obstacles identified in the diagnosis. Finally, coherent actions are the practical steps that are aligned with the guiding policy and are designed to carry out the strategy effectively. Rumelt argues that many leaders mistake goals for strategy, but goals alone do not address the complexities of real-world challenges. Instead, a well-thought-out strategy involves a deep understanding of the problem, a clear plan of action, and specific measures to ensure that the plan is implemented effectively. This kernel of good strategy serves as a foundational structure that can be adapted to various contexts and industries. Diagnosis. Identifies and understands the core challenge. Guiding policy. Broad approach to overcome obstacles. Coherent actions. Practical steps aligned with the guiding policy. Goals versus strategy. Emphasizes the difference between mere goals and effective strategy. Adaptability. Kernel of good strategy can be applied across different contexts and industries. Chapter 5. Diagnosis. In the chapter, Diagnosis from Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, The Difference and Why It Matters, Richard Rumelt delves into the critical importance of diagnosing the challenges and obstacles an organization faces. Rumelt posits that a good strategy begins with a sound diagnosis, which he likens to a physician diagnosing an ailment before prescribing treatment. This diagnosis identifies the nature of the issue and helps in understanding the dynamics at play. Rumelt emphasizes that a sound diagnosis simplifies the often complex reality, allowing leaders to focus on the most critical aspects that need addressing. He also argues against the tendency to confuse goals with strategy, noting that clear goals are important but not a substitute for a well-articulated diagnosis. To illustrate, Rumelt provides real-world examples where successful strategies were rooted in a deep understanding of the problems at hand, contrasting these with examples where poor strategies failed due to inadequate diagnoses. Moreover, Rumelt discusses the pitfalls of superficial diagnoses, which can lead to misguided strategies. He underscores the need for rigor and insight, advocating for a thorough analysis that goes beyond surface symptoms to uncover underlying causes. This chapter sets the stage for subsequent discussions on creating actionable strategies based on well-founded diagnoses. Critical importance of diagnosis. Rumelt stresses that diagnosing challenges is fundamental to forming a good strategy. Simplifying complexity. A sound diagnosis simplifies complex realities, pinpointing key issues for leaders to address. Goals versus strategy. The author differentiates between having clear goals and crafting a strategy based on diagnosis. Real-world examples. Illustrations of successful and failed strategies highlight the importance of accurate diagnoses. Pitfalls of superficial diagnoses. Rumelt warns against shallow diagnoses that can lead to ineffective strategies. Chapter 6. Guiding policy. In this chapter, Richard Rumelt emphasizes the critical importance of a guiding policy in the development of an effective strategy. A guiding policy serves as a bridge between the diagnosis of a challenge and the set of coherent actions that address it. Rumelt articulates that an effective guiding policy is not merely a list of goals or aspirations, but a coherent approach to overcoming the obstacles identified in the diagnosis phase. This policy should provide a clear framework within which decisions can be made and actions can be taken, ensuring consistency and focus. The chapter illustrates that a good guiding policy is actionable and practical, avoiding vague or overly broad statements. Instead, it should offer a clear direction that helps an organization align its resources and efforts towards achieving strategic objectives. Rumelt also warns against common pitfalls, such as confusing a guiding policy with a mere vision statement or a list of desirable outcomes, stressing the need for specificity and relevance to the diagnosed problem. By providing concrete examples and contrasting effective and ineffective policies, Rumelt highlights how a well-crafted guiding policy can significantly enhance an organization's ability to navigate complex challenges and achieve sustained success. Critical importance of a guiding policy. This policy bridges the diagnosis of a challenge with coherent actions. Not just goals or aspirations, it's a coherent approach to overcoming diagnosed obstacles. Actionable and practical. Avoids vague statements and offers a clear direction for decisions and actions. Alignment of resources. Helps the organization focus its efforts towards strategic objectives. Common pitfalls. Warns against confusing the guiding policy with vision statements or lists of outcomes. Chapter 7. Coherent action. In this chapter, Richard Rumelt delves into the concept of coherent action, a pivotal element in effective strategy. Coherent action refers to the alignment and coordination of policies, behaviors, and resources to effectively address strategic challenges. Rumelt emphasizes that coherence is not merely about having a plan, but ensuring that all actions are mutually reinforcing and aligned toward the same strategic goals. He provides examples from various industries, illustrating how successful organizations achieve their objectives by implementing coherent actions that support their overall strategy. By contrast, he highlights the pitfalls of disjointed actions that often lead to inefficiencies and strategic failure. The chapter underscores the importance of having a clear and focused strategy, where every action taken by the organization contributes to a cohesive and unified effort. Rumelt argues that coherent action is what differentiates good strategy from bad strategy, as it ensures that all elements of the strategy are working in harmony to achieve the desired outcomes. Alignment and coordination. Coherent action involves aligning and coordinating policies, behaviors, and resources to address strategic challenges effectively. Mutually reinforcing actions. All actions must be mutually reinforcing and aligned toward the same strategic goals to ensure coherence. Illustrative examples. Rumelt provides examples from various industries to show how successful organizations implement coherent actions. Pitfalls of disjointed actions. Disjointed actions lead to inefficiencies and strategic failure, highlighting the need for coherence. Clear and focused. Strategy. A clear and focused strategy ensures that every action contributes to a cohesive and unified effort. Chapter 8. Using leverage. In the chapter Using Leverage, From Good Strategy, Bad Strategy by Richard Rumelt, the author delves into the concept of leverage as a critical tool in strategic thinking. Leverage, in this context, refers to the ability to magnify the impact of effort, resources, and assets to produce outsized results. Rumelt argues that good strategy identifies and exploits sources of leverage, allowing organizations to achieve significant goals with relatively limited resources. He emphasizes the importance of identifying pivotal points where a small amount of effort can lead to substantial gains. Rumelt provides various examples from business, military, and sports to illustrate how effective leverage can turn the tide in favor of those who know how to use it. One key takeaway is the focus on asymmetries, situations where one side has a distinct advantage that can be exploited. The chapter underscores that good strategists are not just good planners, but are adept at recognizing and utilizing leverage points to their advantage. By understanding and applying the principles of leverage, organizations can navigate challenges more effectively and create strategies that are both powerful and efficient. Identifying pivotal points, recognizing areas where small efforts yield substantial results. Asymmetries, situations where one side holds a distinct advantage. Examples across fields. Business, military, and sports illustrate leverage. Strategic advantage, using leverage to turn situations in one's favor. Efficient resource use, achieving significant goals with limited resources. Chapter 9, Proximate Objectives. In this chapter, Rumelt explores the concept of proximate objectives, which are immediate, actionable goals that can guide organizations toward achieving their broader strategic visions. Proximate objectives are crucial because they provide clarity and focus, helping teams to align their efforts and resources effectively. Rumelt emphasizes that these objectives must be concrete and achievable within a reasonable timeframe, as vagueness or overly ambitious targets can lead to confusion and failure. By setting proximate objectives, organizations can create a clear pathway to success, allowing them to make tangible progress even in the face of uncertainty. Rumelt illustrates this point with examples from various industries, showing how well-defined proximate objectives can drive significant improvements in performance. He also discusses the importance of flexibility, noting that while proximate objectives should be specific, they must also be adaptable to changing circumstances. Ultimately, the chapter underscores the idea that good strategy involves not only having a long-term vision, but also breaking it down into manageable steps that can be executed effectively. Immediate, actionable goals. Proximate objectives are specific goals that can be achieved in the short term, guiding the organization toward its larger strategic vision. Clarity and focus. These objectives provide a clear direction and help align team efforts and resources, ensuring everyone is working toward the same end. Concrete and achievable. Proximate objectives must be realistic and attainable within a reasonable time frame to avoid confusion and set the stage for success. Pathway to success. Setting proximate objectives helps organizations make tangible progress, even when faced with uncertainty, by creating a clear roadmap. Flexibility and adaptability. While objectives should be specific, they also need to be adaptable to changing circumstances to remain relevant and effective. Chapter 10, Chain Link Systems. In Chain Link Systems, Richard Rumelt delves into the intricacies of interdependent processes within organizations. He likens these systems to a chain, where each link must be equally strong for the entire system to function effectively. If one link is weak, the entire chain is compromised, leading to suboptimal performance. This chapter emphasizes that a company's strategy must address all critical links simultaneously. If neglected, even minor weaknesses can propagate and magnify across the organization. Rumelt illustrates this concept through various examples, highlighting that successful organizations are those that understand and reinforce each link in their operational chain. By ensuring that each component of the system is robust, companies can create sustainable competitive advantages. He also discusses the challenges of diagnosing and improving weak links, stressing the importance of a holistic approach. The chapter concludes by underscoring that recognizing and addressing these chain link systems is crucial for any effective strategy, as it ensures coherence and resilience across the organization. Interdependent processes. Rumelt describes how organizational systems are interconnected, like links in a chain. Weak links. A single weak link can compromise the entire chain, leading to overall inefficiency. Holistic approach. Effective strategies must address all links simultaneously to ensure overall strength. Sustainable advantage. Companies that reinforce each link can create long-term competitive advantages. Diagnosis and improvement. Identifying and strengthening weak links is essential for organizational success. Chapter 11, Using Design. In the chapter, Using Design from Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, The Difference and Why It Matters, Richard Rumelt delves into the essential concept of design in the realm of strategic planning. Rather than merely focusing on abstract ideals or high-level goals, Rumelt advocates for a pragmatic approach where design becomes a critical element in crafting effective strategies. He emphasizes that good strategy is not just about having a vision, but also about structuring and coordinating resources to face challenges directly and effectively. Rumelt underscores the importance of diagnosing the problem accurately before designing a solution, likening this process to a doctor diagnosing a patient before treatment. A well-designed strategy integrates various elements, ensuring coherence and mutual reinforcement among them. Additionally, Rumelt highlights the significance of adaptability and iterative learning in the design process, suggesting that strategies should evolve with changing circumstances and insights. This approach transforms strategy from a static plan into a dynamic, responsive framework that can navigate the complexities of real-world situations. Ultimately, Rumelt's insights into design and strategic planning advocate for a disciplined yet flexible methodology, which balances analytical rigor with creative problem-solving. Design as a critical element emphasizes the importance of integrating design and strategic planning to ensure effectiveness. Diagnosis. Before design, stresses the necessity of accurately diagnosing the problem before crafting a solution, similar to medical practice. Coherent integration advocates for strategies that integrate various elements cohesively, ensuring mutual reinforcement. Adaptability and learning highlights the significance of adaptability and iterative learning in the strategy design process. Dynamic framework suggests that strategies should be dynamic and responsive to changing circumstances and new insights. Chapter 12. Focus. In the chapter dedicated to the concept of focus in Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, Richard Rumelt elucidates the significance of concentrating efforts on pivotal areas to achieve strategic success. He argues that a well-crafted strategy involves making tough choices about where to direct resources and attention, rather than trying to tackle everything at once. Focus, according to Rumelt, is about identifying the critical issues that will have the most substantial impact and directing concentrated efforts toward addressing them. Rumelt emphasizes that focus allows organizations to leverage their strengths effectively while mitigating weaknesses. By zeroing in on key objectives, companies can achieve disproportionate results with relatively fewer resources. He illustrates this with several examples from diverse industries, demonstrating how focus has led to remarkable achievements. For instance, he discusses how Apple's focus on design and user experience allowed it to dominate the smartphone market, despite having fewer resources than some of its competitors. Moreover, Rumelt warns against the dangers of diffused efforts, which can lead to diluted impact and wasted resources. He points out that many organizations falter because they spread themselves too thin, trying to be everything to everyone. The chapter concludes by stressing the importance of clarity and discipline in maintaining focus, urging leaders to continually reassess and realign their strategic priorities to ensure sustained success. Significance of focus emphasizes the importance of concentrating efforts on pivotal areas to achieve strategic success. Making tough choices highlights the necessity of directing resources and attention selectively rather than tackling everything. Leveraging strengths. Focus allows organizations to utilize their strengths effectively while mitigating weaknesses. Examples of success. Discusses real-world examples, like Apple's focus on design, to illustrate how focus leads to remarkable achievements. Dangers of diffusion. Warns against spreading efforts too thin, leading to diluted impact and wasted resources. Chapter 13. Growth. The chapter delves into the often misunderstood concept of growth within the context of business strategy. Richard Rumelt emphasizes that growth is not an automatic or guaranteed outcome, but rather the result of well-thought-out and executed strategic actions. He argues against the common misconception that growth for growth's sake is inherently beneficial. Instead, he posits that sustainable growth stems from a deep understanding of the competitive environment and the unique strengths of the organization. Rumelt underscores the importance of focusing on the core business and leveraging existing capabilities, rather than diversifying into unrelated areas. He also highlights the pitfalls of pursuing growth through mere expansion without a strategic purpose, cautioning that this can lead to overextension and eventual decline. By presenting various case studies and real-world examples, Rumelt illustrates how successful companies achieve growth through strategic clarity and disciplined execution. The chapter concludes with actionable insights on identifying growth opportunities that align with a company's strengths and market conditions, ultimately advocating for a more nuanced and strategic approach to growth. Misunderstood. Concept: growth is not automatic, but a result of strategic actions. Growth for growth's sake challenges the idea that all growth is beneficial. Sustainable growth stems from understanding competitive environment and organizational strengths. Core business focus emphasizes leveraging existing capabilities over unrelated diversification. pitfalls of expansion. Warns against growth through mere expansion without strategic purpose. Chapter 14, Using Advantage. In the chapter, Using Advantage of Richard Rumelt's Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, The Difference and Why It Matters, the author delves into the importance of leveraging advantages to create effective strategies. Rumelt argues that a good strategy is not just about setting goals, but about utilizing existing strengths and capabilities to gain a competitive edge. He explains that identifying and exploiting an organization's unique advantages can lead to superior performance and sustainability. The chapter emphasizes the need for a deep understanding of one's own strengths and the strategic application of these strengths to outmaneuver competitors. Rumelt provides real-world examples to illustrate how companies have successfully utilized their advantages, reinforcing the idea that a well-crafted strategy is rooted in the intelligent use of existing assets and capabilities. The chapter concludes with the notion that recognizing and applying advantage is a dynamic process, requiring continuous assessment and adaptation to maintain relevance and effectiveness in a competitive landscape. Leveraging strengths. Identifying and exploiting unique organizational strengths can lead to superior performance. Competitive edge. Utilizing existing capabilities allows for outmaneuvering competitors and achieving sustainability. Deep understanding. A thorough comprehension of one's own strengths is crucial for strategic application. Real-world examples. Practical illustrations of companies successfully using their advantages reinforce key concepts. Dynamic process. Recognizing and applying advantages requires continuous assessment and adaptation to remain effective. Chapter 15, Using Dynamics. In the chapter, Using Dynamics from Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, The Difference and Why It Matters, Richard Rumelt delves into the concept of dynamics in strategy formulation. He explains that understanding the dynamics of a situation is crucial for developing effective strategies. Dynamics refer to the forces and changes that affect the competitive environment and shape the outcomes of strategic actions. The chapter emphasizes the importance of recognizing patterns of change, such as technological advancements, market shifts, and regulatory changes, and how they can create opportunities or threats. Rumelt argues that successful strategists are those who can anticipate and leverage these dynamics to their advantage. He provides examples of companies that have successfully navigated dynamic environments by staying ahead of trends and adapting their strategies accordingly. The chapter also discusses the role of inertia and resistance to change, highlighting that organizations must be willing to challenge the status quo and embrace innovation to stay competitive. Overall, Rumelt underscores that a deep understanding of dynamics is essential for crafting strategies that are not only effective but also resilient in the face of change. Understanding dynamics. Recognizing the forces and changes in the competitive environment is crucial for effective strategy formulation. Patterns of change. Identifying technological advancements, market shifts, and regulatory changes can create opportunities or threats. Anticipation and leverage. Successful strategists anticipate and leverage dynamics to their advantage. Inertia and resistance. Organizations must challenge the status quo and embrace innovation to stay competitive. Resilient strategies. A deep understanding of dynamics is essential for crafting strategies that are effective and resilient in the face of change. Chapter 16, Inertia and Entropy. In this chapter, Richard Rumelt delves into the concepts of inertia and entropy within the context of strategic management. Inertia is described as the resistance to change, which often plagues organizations despite clear signals that change is necessary. This resistance can stem from various factors, including entrenched routines, cultural norms, and vested interests. Rumelt argues that overcoming inertia requires not only recognizing it, but also implementing decisive actions to break through these barriers. Entropy, on the other hand, is discussed as the natural tendency of systems to move towards disorder and randomness. In organizational terms, this means that without deliberate and continuous effort to maintain order, processes and strategies will degrade over time. Rumelt emphasizes that leaders must be vigilant and proactive in combating entropy by regularly revisiting and refining their strategies. The chapter provides practical insights and examples, illustrating how both inertia and entropy can undermine strategic efforts and what can be done to address these challenges effectively. Inertia as resistance to change. Organizations often face resistance when attempting to implement new strategies due to established routines and cultural norms. Factors contributing to inertia. Vested interests and entrenched behaviors are significant contributors to an organization's resistance to change. Overcoming inertia. Recognizing inertia is only the first step. Decisive actions are required to break through these barriers and implement change. Entropy and organizational disorder. Systems naturally tend towards disorder, and this entropy can degrade processes and strategies over time if not actively managed. Proactive leadership. Leaders must be vigilant in combating entropy by continuously refining and revisiting their strategies to maintain organizational order and effectiveness. Chapter 17. Putting it all together. In the chapter, Putting It All Together, Richard Rumelt emphasizes the practical application of strategic concepts discussed in earlier sections of the book. He illustrates the process of crafting a good strategy through real-world examples and detailed case studies. The chapter stresses the importance of coherence, where all elements of a strategy, objectives, policies, and actions, align to produce a unified direction. Rumelt argues that successful strategies are not about creating a comprehensive plan, but about focusing on critical issues and leveraging strengths to overcome challenges. He introduces the concept of a kernel of a strategy, which includes a diagnosis of the situation, a guiding policy, and coherent actions. The chapter also highlights the pitfalls of bad strategy, such as mistaking goals for strategy and using broad, vague objectives that fail to address specific challenges. Ultimately, Rumelt provides a clear roadmap for leaders to develop and implement effective strategies that are both practical and impactful. Importance of coherence. All elements of a strategy must align to produce a unified direction. Focus on critical issues. Successful strategies focus on key challenges and leverage strengths. The kernel of a strategy. A good strategy includes a diagnosis, guiding policy, and coherent actions. Pitfalls of bad strategy. Mistaking goals for strategy and using vague objectives are common mistakes. Practical roadmap. The chapter provides a clear guide for developing and implementing effective strategies. Chapter 18. The Science of Strategy. In The Science of Strategy, Richard Rumelt delves into the systematic principles that underpin successful strategy formulation. He emphasizes that strategic thinking is not just about vision or ambition, but about understanding the mechanisms that drive outcomes. Rumelt argues that good strategy involves identifying a critical challenge and focusing resources and actions to address that challenge effectively. He draws parallels between scientific inquiry and strategic planning, suggesting that both require a hypothesis, a rigorous analysis of data, and a willingness to adjust based on findings. The chapter underscores the importance of coherent action and the alignment of resources to achieve desired outcomes. Rumelt also highlights the pitfalls of bad strategy, which often involve vague objectives, a lack of focus, and the failure to address the core issues. He provides concrete examples from business and military history to illustrate how strategic thinking can lead to significant breakthroughs or catastrophic failures. By applying a scientific approach to strategy, leaders can make more informed decisions and enhance their organization's chance of success. Strategic thinking. It's about understanding the mechanisms that drive outcomes, not just vision or ambition. Critical challenge. Good strategy identifies a key challenge and focuses resources to address it. Scientific inquiry. Parallel. Both strategy and science require hypotheses, data analysis, and adjustments based on findings. Coherent action. Aligning resources and actions is crucial for achieving desired outcomes. Pitfalls of bad strategy. Vague objectives and lack of focus often lead to failure. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this summary and want to dive into more insightful content, be sure to subscribe to Chill Zone. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest book summaries and updates. Join our community of book lovers and lifelong learners by leaving a like, sharing your thoughts in the comments, and spreading the word. Relax, enjoy, and keep expanding your horizons with Chill Zone. See you in the next video.